Okay, we just watched the video, which is posted on Blackboard. I can't include it in this video because if I do, YouTube will kick it out. So you'll have to watch that video on your own. It is on Blackboard. And I think one of the most helpful videos on Blackboard is one on STI where there's a female dressed in a red blouse or something who is the narrator of the video, and she's very good, and everything in that video is correct. So if you were going to pick one to watch, that would be the one to watch. The one I showed today, it's more kind of a flyover discussion of STIs. It's good, not very deep, but it's okay. And that's on Blackboard as well. So the shocking thing, maybe to you millennials, is people aged 15 to 24 make up almost half of all STI problems in the US. So the answer to one is A. Now, number two is an interesting question. Are all of the following are cited as factors contributing to the high incidence of STIs in adolescents and young adults, except for B, the unreliability of latex condoms. Now, we talked about latex, well, we talked about condoms in general as a birth control method, and we said it wasn't a top tier efficient birth control method. And it's not. And I mentioned the reason it's not is because of operator error as far as handling the prophylactic before or after sex. Now, as for a anti-STI tool that's available to you, it is very reliable for that. When you watch the video that I was telling you about, the first thing she says out of the video is the more effective your birth control method is, the higher your chances of getting an STI. And when you hear that, you think, what the hell is she saying? That doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense if you think, what birth control method are you using? Are you using the pill? Are you using an IUD? Those things are, or any of the implants or the patch or all those, they don't have anything to do with the use of prophylactics, condoms, because they are alternative forms of birth control. None of those forms of birth control have anything to do with stopping STIs. So the irony of the situation is if the female partner has complete confidence in her birth control method, then what generally happens is condoms are not involved in the sex act because the woman is no longer concerned about becoming pregnant. And of course, guys, we don't like condoms. They take away from the sensation and the continuity, spontaneity of sex. So we're not advocating for a use of condoms. And if we're conscientious enough to be concerned about pregnancy, we're confident that our partner is using some other form of birth control other than relying on a condom. So that's why, with the efficacy of a birth control method, the use of condoms go down, and therefore the incidence of STIs go up. The other issue, which is not really specifically talked about in this chapter, is millennials are having less sex. So obviously, as a group, if they're having less sex, there's going to be a drop in STIs. The graphs that I looked at in the videos and some that I posted, the latest I could get was 2018, and that really wasn't showing much of a drop in STIs. But my guess is, as we get newer, updated statistics, we will see that there is a drop in STIs, but it has to do with the fact that there's a drop of people having sex. So that those two things go together. So the high incidence of STIs is not having to do with faulty condoms. It has to do with the absence of condoms. And the reason there's an absence is because the female partner has confidence in the birth control method she's using. So that's why 2 is B. 3 is C. Continue sexual activity with your partner even if you have not yet received treatment, so the person won't feel rejected. This has got to be a not one. Which of the following is not one of the guidelines outlined in your text for telling your partner? Now, you need to tell your partner straight up. In some states, it's a criminal offense. If you have an STI, you know you have an STI. You don't tell your sexual partner that you have an STI and they get it, then you can be criminally prosecuted for that. There, you've seen some of that in the area of AIDS, because AIDS used to be a death sentence. It's not so much a death sentence anymore, but it is a very serious disease. And there's been plenty of notoriety about some people who have had sex, unprotected sex with people because they were HIV infected and they were mad at the world and they wanted to share their misery with others. Pretty sick, but it happens. Number 4 is, I already mentioned the answer to that. That's, I said chlamydia. Actually, it should have been trichomoniasis. No, chlamydia, I was right. I can't even read it right. 4 is C, chlamydia. Chlamydia is the most common sexual transmitted infection reported in the US. That has been true for a very long time. When I was an investigator for Children and Family Services, I was involved in investigating children who have been infected with chlamydia, and it usually was a pretty easy investigation to find out who the perpetrator was, because, surprise, they had chlamydia. So I have seen that, and I've used it as a helpful piece of information in the prosecution of adults who are having sex with their children or somebody else's children. 5, it appears that teenage girls and young women in their early 20s are especially susceptible to chlamydial infection. Why is that? Their cervixes, that's the plural of cervix. It's not cervixi, cervixes are not fully completed their maturation. And so they're more susceptible to an infection getting inside the cervix and going into the uterus. So 5 is B. 6, which chlamydia symptom is not one of the symptoms in males, and that's D, hard, painless lesions on the penis. So 7, the following statements concerning chlamydia infection is false. B, chlamydia is associated with penile cancer in men if left untreated. Not true. 8, chlamydia infections, if left untreated, may result in all of the following except genital warts. 9, possible complications from pelvic inflammatory disease, PID, include all of the following except A, enhanced fertility. Duh. 10, chlamydia can cause trachoma, the world's leading cause of preventable blindness. 11 is D. Just discovered that she is 3 months pregnant. Lindsay should be concerned in part because chlamydia could cause complications of her unborn child. In the book, you saw the little infant with the fluid coming, with the closed eyes and the fluid coming out of their eyes. Very scary looking photo. That's 11D. 12, which of the following STIs can infect the throat, the anus, and genitals? That is gonorrhea. 13, what are the common symptoms of gonorrhea in men? Answer A, bad smelling, cloudy penile discharge, and burning sensation during urination. 14, in a small number of men, which of the following complications may arise from untreated gonorrhea? Abscesses on your prostate, A, so 14 is A. Which of the following is true of gonorrhea symptoms in females? C, most women will be unaware of the infection at the primary site. Scary. Scary when you have an STI and you don't even know you have it, you have no symptoms. Complications of untreated gonorrhea in women include the possibility of infertility. So 16 is D. 17, after 5 days after sexual contact, Gary experienced a burning urination and bad smelling. Bad juju. He is probably got the gift that keeps on giving, gonorrhea. So 17 is D. 18, which of the following statements regarding gonorrhea is true? D, because coexisting chlamydia infections often occupy gonorrhea. Both health practitioners often use a treatment strategy that is effective against both. Similar symptoms, so you might miss the real problem, or maybe they're happening at the same time. So 18 is D. 19, Yenis has just learned her partner has gonorrhea. Oh no. Yenis may be able to pass that disease onto another partner, even if she has no symptoms. Not that unusual. NGI can be caused by all the following except B, retroviruses. Okay. So 20 is B. 21 is D. There are no known consequences of NGU if left untreated in men. That is, of course, one of those false statements. Obviously, there are consequences of NGU untreated. The symptoms of NGU in males are similar to those of gonorrhea. So 22 is B. 23, blank is caused by a thin corkscrew bacterium commonly called Spirochete. So the answer to that is D, syphilis. 24, all of the following are phases of syphilic development except one. That one is B. So 24 is B, prodromal phase. It's not part of the syphilic development. 25 is A, primary syphilis. 26 is B, a skin rash with a flu-like symptom is the second stage of syphilis. 27, which of the following statements concerning syphilis is false? This is a negative one. Answer, 27 is D. The incidence of syphilis has continued to decrease in the 21st century. No, it's actually making a comeback. So 27 is D. 28, Benito's doctor has just diagnosed Benito with tertiary syphilis. Benito D. would likely benefit from treatment involving intramuscular injections of penicillin. So, serious treatment for a serious disease. Now, speaking of serious, 29, if left untreated, syphilis can cause death. Now, when you took Introduction to Psychology, you may have learned about the concept of the medical model for treating psychiatric patients. The medical model is just exactly what it sounds like. The medical model is somebody goes to see the doctor, you do an assessment, you make a diagnosis, and then you prescribe a treatment. Sometimes involves oral pills of some sort, maybe an injection, maybe both, and that's the medical model. One of the reasons that the early field of psychology followed the medical model is because of syphilis. Because one of the symptoms of advanced syphilis is psychosis. So everyone thought, well, that makes sense. Mental illness is a biological issue, and we can prove that by syphilis, because in advanced stages of syphilis, people become psychotic and they eventually die. So the mental part of a physical disease like syphilis proves that mental illness is a physical thing. Well, not really. We don't discount the fact that mental diseases can have a biological beginnings in the biopsychosocial triangle of the world. Yes, you can have a mental illness based on factors in that circle called biology, which includes chemistry, anatomy, physiology, genetics, heredity, all those things. So yes, your mental illness can have a component related to genetics or your heredity. Like, for instance, schizophrenia. About 87% of schizophrenia has a genetic predisposition for schizophrenia. In other words, if somebody becomes schizophrenic, you can go back and look into their family history, and not very far away in that family tree is somebody who had a psychotic disease. But that leaves 13 to maybe 15% that there does not seem to be any biological heredity, genetic precursor that led to schizophrenia. A good example of this is identical twins. If one of the identical twins becomes schizophrenic, there's only a 50% chance that the other twin will become schizophrenic. And you say, wait a minute, I thought you said there was a 87% chance that schizophrenia was linked to genetic involvement. And the answer is yes. But just because you're predisposed to be vulnerable to schizophrenia does not mean you're going to be schizophrenic. That's when the social and the psychological side of biopsychosocial come into play. Your twin can become schizophrenic because of the stressors in his or her life is different. It's not the same for them as it is for you, even if you're identical twins. Same genes, but not the same, exactly the same experience. Much of the same experience, of course, but not exactly the same. So it's only 50%. I think most of us would think like I do, which says you would think it would be higher. If they're identical twins, you would think it would be, I would think it would be more than 50-50, but it's not. Okay, so 29 is B, syphilis. 30 is A, which of the following regarding syphilis infection in pregnancy? Danger. If syphilis is successfully treated before the 4th month of pregnancy, the fetus will likely not be affected. So when a mother goes into prenatal care for her child, they generally do a screening for infectious diseases, because in this case, as in syphilis, if you know about it, you can treat it and it will not have a negative effect on your child. 31. A, HSV usually manifests in cold sores on the mouth or lips. You know, herpes, simplex virus, HSV, HSV1, HSV2. This event, we're talking about HSV1. So 31 is A. 32, which of the following statements concerning herpes is false? A negative one. That would be D. Oral herpes is substantially less common than genital herpes. No, it's the opposite of that. So 32 is D. 33 is B, labia. In women, papules due to genital herpes most commonly appear in the labia. So that's the lips, and that's where these genital herpes appear. So 33 is B. 34, all of the following are mentioned as factors that may trigger reactivation of herpes. You don't cure herpes, you simply treat it. So 34 is A, because we're looking for an exception to the rule, and the exception is a diet high in vitamins and nutrients can help reactivate a cycle of herpes. Wrong. The one you mostly hear about is B, emotional stress. It could be menstruation, and it also could be just being overly tired. Sort of a slowdown of your natural abilities to fight or suppress, in this case, a disease that you have. So your immune system is a little bit compromised when you're tired. 35, C, an itching or burning sensation. That is a prodromal symptom of herpes. C, 35 is C. 36 is A, prodromal symptom of herpes. These are some sensations that poor Joe has. 37, liver failure. Possible complications of herpes infection in women include all of the following except liver failure. Nobody talks about liver failure when it comes to STIs. So 37 is C. 38, here's another exception rule. D, vaginal discharge. Symptoms of oral herpes can include all the following except D, vaginal discharge. Well, yeah, okay. Makes sense. 39 is B, which one is not true concerning pregnant women with herpes and their children. B, peritoneal transmission of herpes to a newborn child usually causes just mild symptoms. No, can cause a lot more than that. So the answer stem, which is not true, is B for 39. For 40, which of the following is the most accurate statement regarding the treatment of herpes? I think I already answered this one. The answer is C, because no treatment has been proven infecting a cure, either oral or genital herpes. Treatment focuses on preventing outbreaks. In other words, knowing when you're going to have an outbreak. So that is the time that you can infect somebody else. And of course, reducing discomfort of the problem. So 40 is C. 41, Reina experiences recurrent genital herpes. Yeah. Answer, is this a negative? Which of the following should be least helpful? Correct. C, wearing nylon underwear. Too much friction, not enough breathing. Nylon underwear is not good if you are somebody who has been infected with genital herpes. 42, so 41 is C. 42, HPV infections, A, are associated with various cancers. Human papilloma virus is can be a serious problem, and it's very frequently seen in our American population. So 42 is A. 43, HPV is also most often transmitted by what? Asymptomatic individuals, which means people who have no idea that they have HPV because they don't have any symptoms, and who do not realize that they're infected. Well, yeah, why would they, unless they were taking tests? And most people don't routinely take STI tests. When school is in full swing, at least on the VV campus, every year the human sexuality class puts on a little fair where people from public health come down and test volunteers who want to find out whether they have these diseases or not. And every year somebody finds out that they do, and they didn't have any idea that they had the problem. So 43 is C. 44 is B, HPV. 45, if in women, genital warts most commonly appear on the genitals, huh? Forty-five is A, bottom part of the vaginal opening. Surprise! I guess that's why they call it genital warts. On your genitals and not your mouth or eyes or nose. In men, genital warts most commonly appear on the eyes, the ears. No. On the glands, the foreskin, or shaft of the penis. So another reason to call it genital warts. They're on your genitals. So 46 is B. Is there a question there that I left unanswered? Alexandra, is that you?
No, sir.
Okay. Which of the following statements concerning genital warts is true? They are found on the genitals. Yes, that's true. That's not the answer. The answer is C. The incidence of HPV infections that cause genital warts has reached epidemic proportions. All true. So 47 is C. 48, all of the following may be used to treat genital warts except A, Zovirax. Zovirax is a treatment for oral herpes, not genital herpes. So 48 is not true. 49, evidence indicates that 66% of cervical cancers in the US is due to HPV. I forgot to look up, I learned yesterday that that early adolescent children in the state of Texas are actually given the HPV shot for fighting that virus. So the vaccine for HPV, which I did not know, is actually routinely given, but I wanted to look that up and see where else that might be happening. So 49 is D. 50. Worries about cervical cancer and become sexually active. What does it reduce cervical cancer? The answer to 50 is A. Ask Michaela's physician about getting Gardasil vaccine. So that is a vaccine for HPV. So 50 is A. 51 is D. Hepatitis B can be transmitted through blood or blood products, semen, vaginal secretions, and good old saliva or saliva. So hepatitis B is not that uncommon among people. If you're working with people as a volunteer, or maybe you're doing a placement as part of your nursing program or something, they're going to require you to have the hepatitis B and C exam to make sure you cannot infect somebody else when you're going to see and be around patients in the hospital or nursing home, wherever you're doing your work. 52 is B, intravenous drugs, IV drug use. After this guy doing drugs for a while, he developed a high fever and vomiting. His doctor diagnosed Mickey with hepatitis C. Most likely contracted hepatitis through IV drug use. That's also used to be one of the primary reasons people got HIV was through IV drug use. The video you just saw before this recorded section did talk about that as being one of the foundations of passing on at age a virus or a disease can be done by intravenous drug use. 53, a notable sign of viral hepatitis is D, yellowing of the whites of the eyes. Remember, hepatitis can affect your liver, and when you start getting yellowing of the whites of your eyes, usually a good indicator that you've got liver issues. 53 is D. 54 is C, hepatitis C. Vaccines are available for hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis A and B, hepatitis B and A, but not hepatitis C. No vaccine for that. Hepatitis C, 55, is B, is an emerging communicable disease of epidemic proportions. And if you work around people who live on the street or sort of live a rough lifestyle, like if you're in contact with people who are arrested, hepatitis C is always a serious concern. So 55 is B. 56, which of the following statements concern common vaginal infections is false? So how about B? Vaginal infections are fairly uncommon except in highly sexual active women. Wrong. So 56 is B. 57 is C. All of the following can increase a woman's susceptibility to vaginal infections except C. Getting away from the silk and nylon underwear and going to a breathable, softer, less friction causing cotton underwear. So 57 is C. 58 is B. Your battery is running low. Oh, well, maybe I should plug it in. Hold on, guys. Ah. Okay, I didn't want that to quit. Okay, so 57 was C. 58, recent evidence suggests a link between blank and premature rupture of the amniotic sac and preterm labor during pregnancy is B, bacterial vaginosis. So 58 is B. 59, which of the following statements concerning bacterial vaginosis is false? We're looking for the negative one. That would be B. Bacterial vaginosis is always sexually transmitted. Not true. What in the world is going on here? You guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
There's a delay in my voice and what I'm seeing in the picture looks very strange. Oh, well. C'est la vie. So 59 is B. 60 is C, bacteria vaginosis. Again, 61 is C, women who have sex with other women. Bacterial vaginosis is more common among women who have sex with women. So 61 is C. Wow, we got a lot of questions in this section. 62, which of the following symptoms of candidiasis is C, a whitey clump discharge that resembles cottage cheese? Yeast infection. 63 is C, a yeast infection. That's what our candidiasis is a yeast infection. What do they call it? Yeast infection. Try to call it something else. 63 is C. 64 is caused by C, a fungus called Candida albicans, otherwise known as the thing that causes yeast infections. 64 is C. 65 is A. Sugar stored in the vaginal cells appears to increase the susceptibility to yeast infections. 65 is A. 66 is A. This over-the-counter supplement, which I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce, is A. So 66 is A. It's a over-the-counter supplement that you can take, which can help with preventing yeast infections. So 66 is A. 67 is C. Inflammation of genital tissues caused by trichomoniasis can increase a woman's susceptibility to HIV infection. Is this true? Yes, it is. 67 is C. 68, a type of vaginal infection caused by the protozoan parasite is called A, trichomoniasis. 68 is A. 69 is pubic lice. Answer, C, can be spread through contact with clothing or bedding of an infected person. So be careful when you share somebody's underwear, I guess. 70 is C, pubic. Public underwear can lead to pubic lice. 70 is C, pubic lice. 71 is B, pubic lice and scabies. All clothes and sheets used prior to treatment must be washed when infected with pubic lice and scabies. I have never had pubic lice, but I can tell you that I had been treated for scabies when I was working in the state mental hospital. It's extremely infectious disease. And when somebody got sick with it in the children's unit, we all ended up taking Quell lotion and covering our bodies and hair with it to kill these little buggers that grow pretty quickly on you. So 71 is B, 72 is C, scabies. Which of the following would most likely be found among nursing home residents and the indigent, in addition to people who are sexually active? Scabies. They seem to do real well with institutionalized people, whether it's in a hospital or a mental hospital or just a nursing home. It's one of those things that gets passed along. 73, small pimple-like bumps, a rash surrounding the primary lesion, intense itching are all symptoms of a scabies infection. So 73 is B, scabies. HIV is a retrovirus. 74 is B, as in Bravo. 75, how many cases of AIDS has been reported in the US since 1981? The answer is greater than 1 million, B. Now, I put these questions on the study guide so that you'll read and pay attention to them. But I will tell you, I'm not going to ever put a question like that on the test because it's very hard to remember. Was it 1,000, 100,000? Was it 1 million? Was it 1.5 million? Something like that. Very hard to recall that answer. And even if you were using your recognition skills, memory skills, it's still hard. So I would not put that on a test, but I do. And then we don't know what year this decision, this basis of, since 1981, has it not leveled off? It's still 1 million a year? I doubt it. 76 is D, China. Rates of HIV infections are increasing in China. Very interesting, very interesting. And in turn, we get COVID-19. So 76 is D. 77 is C. HIV is rarely seen in people younger than 20 years old or older than 50. 77 is C. 78 is D. Explanation for the higher incidence of HIV in sub-Saharan Africa included all the following except, of course, D, relatively greater economic independence of women, which number one is not happening, and number two would not reflect a higher incidence of kinds of problems we're talking about with STIs. The primary mode of HIV transmission in Africa is A, heterosexual contact. HIV and AIDS has been a big, big issue in Africa, and a lot of it's cultural, a lot of birth control methods, including condoms, are not available in those countries. And because of the machismo world that they live in, men don't want to wear them anyway. Even when they know they're infected with AIDS, they don't do it, which is one of the reasons AIDS travels so fast. 80, which of the following statements regarding HIV is false? Not true. We're looking for the not true answer, and that would be C. HIV is decreasing in developed nations and increasing dramatically in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not decreasing in developed nations, and I don't know whether it's increasing dramatically or not in sub-African countries. I just know it's still a problem. One of the biggest areas I know that still HIV is being transmitted is in metropolitan areas like Washington, D.C., and women are getting it. Who are they getting it from? They're getting it from their husbands and boyfriends who are IV shooters, who are shooting up IV drugs. They get HIV, and then they give it to their mate, their sexual partner, through sex. So one of the fastest growing groups of people who are suffering from new diagnosis of HIV positive are suburban middle class women, which is pretty amazing because they're not having homosexual sex, and even their boyfriends or husbands are not getting it from homosexual sex. They're getting it from from IV drug use. So they're shooting up drugs and they're sharing needles, and that's what's happening. So that's it for chapter 15. Aren't you glad you hung around to listen to all that? What fun. Okay. So I would encourage you to watch the videos that I have posted on Blackboard. They are very helpful, and most of them are entertaining. I go through a lot of videos before I decide which one is the most appropriate to stick in class. So I hope you watch them and enjoy them. Okay, my stalwart students, Paloma and Alexandra, thank you for showing up and paying attention to this subject matter. It's not always pleasant. I saved you most of the ugly pictures, so you can thank me for that later. I'm not, as Stephen Colbert said, I'm not trying to scare the crap out of you for having sex and showing you pictures of heavily infected people with STIs. So I don't think that's particularly helpful. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you the facts. Okay, so today is Tuesday. So tomorrow, I guess we'll start chatting about our next chapter 16 on atypical sexual behaviors, which of course is most interesting. All right, stay tuned.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.